Welcome to Wednesdays with Willa. I am your host, Willa White, and this is my weekly podcast show that airs on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium. It also goes out on my YouTube channel, as well as the Lilydale Assembly Facebook page. This is year 9 of episodes of Wednesdays with Willa. So you've got lots of archive videos from the past that you can binge watch to your heart's content. It's a treasure trove of information regarding spiritualism, mediumship, healing, faith, family, and more. And I love having a special guest to come on the show and share their expertise with you and have a wonderful spiritual conversation. And I'm happy to welcome back on the show today, Richard Stuttle. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Willa. Lovely to see you. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know who Richard Stuttle is, he is a spirit artist, medium from the United Kingdom. And he also travels and teaches seminars regarding spirit art and mediumship and inspired art all over the world. And he's an author and well-respected specialist tutor at the Arthur Findlay College in England, as well as being a trustee of the Henry Edwards Foundation. So he's always been fascinated with art and spiritualism and healing, and he's able to combine all of those beautiful interests and talents and in his creations and in his teaching. And he's here with us today to talk about auragraphs and inspired art. So please welcome Richard onto the show.
Thank you.
Yes. And so, Richard, how about you give them a little bit of your background and how you first got involved with all of this? Because I know your father is a professional artist as well, and that definitely helped you to feel inspired to work in this way in the capacity. So give us a bit of background.
Yeah, sure. Very much so. Yeah, my father's been an artist for 60 odd years, and he's probably well longer than that because he's older than that. But he's been a professional artist all of his career, and he's always been interested in art. So when I was growing up, I was surrounded by art and creativity. I was surrounded by energy and Mother Nature. I was always outside. I was always playing. I was always interested. And the important point from my upbringing, I think that's really relevant, is I was never told anything was wrong. So I was always interested in, oh, well, what is this? How does this work? What's this color? Well, what's this? Well, draw this. Well, how does this look? So that my mind evolved in that way. That was really intriguing for me just to look under every stone and turn every corner. And my father was very much a big part of that. So I learned to draw, and I learned to get covered in pastel and oil paint and just be surrounded by creativity. My father's also been a tutor at the college, the Arthur Findlay College, for 30 years as well. So I was brought up in that environment, which, as you'll know, it's a privilege to be surrounded by like-minded people, or people who have an interest in the unseen or the energetic world, and I think it's really important. My mother and that side is more healing, which is why I have an interest in healing, and I think both of them, art and creativity, mediumship, energy of the unseen, Mother Earth, healing, it's kind of that balance for me, and I need both.
Yes, we all need both. And I think it's wonderful when a family can have that level of spiritual exploration and interest and be able to talk about those things and cultivate that so that you as an individual soul have a bit more ability to tap into those more readily because it's fostered, not forced, but fostered in such a way that the growth can happen and more quickly than someone who's been told no, that that's not right. You're not really seeing those things. You're not really experiencing those things. So having grown up in a family very similar to yours in that regard, I do see it as such a blessing. And I'm glad that you've been able to evolve your own understanding. Like they're usually that parent's quest, if they're on that too, it definitely helps the children that are able to be the sponge to those experiences and amplify them in new directions and new ways. So
Mm.
beautiful. Well, what's the next thing you'd like to share with us about that journey?
Yeah, so well, I suppose it was growing up and then finding your own. And as you say, it's your parents give you that ability to go your own pathway, find your own philosophy, your own way of working, your own connection, and leave you space to do that. I suppose when I first got interested in mediumship, I first went to the college when I was 19 and started to go, oh, well, actually, what is this? How does this work? A few years later, my sister passed to the spirit world, and um, it was, I mean, heartbreaking, devastating, absolutely destroyed us, many people around us. Um, but that begged me to ask the question, well, where is she now? Where does she go? What happens? And I knew her energy when she was in the room. So when she passed to the spirit and physically she was no longer here, I could then go, oh, well, actually, I feel that same energy. Well, what is that? So that was really the catalyst. And I was in my mid-20s then. Um, so that was the catalyst for me to go, right, well, what is mediumship? What is this communication with the energy of the unseen world? And as we're going to talk about with auragraphs and psychic, I call it now the energy of the unseen world because there is that energy of Mother Earth, the energy of the animal kingdom, the energy of nature's flora and fauna. Then you've got the spirit world, you've got the deceased loved ones, the ancestors. You've also got that psychic connection or that auragraph, as we're going to talk about, that mind to mind connection. Many people ask, oh, what's the difference between mediumship and psychic? Well, it's that connection of mind with an incarnate, that's the psychic with you and me, or a discarnate with the only difference is they haven't got a body. We've got the body to do that. So it's our energy field within the body and where we are. So they're the distinctions I kind of make with that. But when we're working and when we're tapping into all of that energy and that feeling, it is just the energy of the unseen.
Mhm. And being able to tap into those things requires us to have a willingness, an intention, and we can cultivate that through right practice.
Hmm.
And how would you say we can do that when it comes to orograph and inspired psychic art?
Oh, well, I think the art is such a wonderful starting point, and it's a great thing either whether you're working in the field or you're working with the energy of the unseen or you're just getting used to it. But the conscious mind needs something tangible.
Hmm.
So if we can have that feeling between us, that energy, and you go, well, actually, I feel this positive energy between us. Well, what is that? Well, let's give that a color. If I give that the color of orange, well, there's something tangible where, I'm having a sensation that's beyond my five senses. I've got a feeling, and now my conscious mind has linked that feeling to a color. It's something that is now tangible for my conscious mind to understand. That orange is linked with that feeling, which then gives me that sensation or that emotion. So for me, it's kind of building a link between the conscious mind, the energy of the unseen, and the feeling and the feedback that our body is experiencing within this space, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad that you're breaking that down for people so that they have an understanding of accessing that. And I would just add, do you feel that a lot of it is attuning to a particular vibrational frequency? That as you're tuning, all of a sudden you're aware of orange, feeling
Mhm.
that color around you, that each color has its own vibrational frequency, and that as mediums, as intuitives, as sensitives, as healers, we can feel the distinctions of color and a vibratory force that attunes us so that we say, orange, got it. That's the message. And
Yeah.
then we're able to pick perhaps the right tone or shade of orange that conveys that the best. And then that is put onto the paper.
Very much so. Yeah. I mean, you've got it. That's exactly because what we're talking about with all art, with all mediumship, with all creativity, with all psychic or mediumistic communication, what are we really talking about? Well, it's healing. And it's that underpinning vibration of everything that we do within this sphere or within any interaction with anybody. I would suggest that is that healing feeling, that energy of, well, actually, how am I holding space for you? I'm not doing it for you, but I'm showing you in a way that this feels authentic to me. And that's what color can do in that sense. As you say, you pick that color of orange. It's up to me to pick the right orange. It's up to me to understand that difference of what orange means for me, what orange means for you, what orange means for the spirit communicator, what orange means for the energy of this space, and what orange means for Mother Earth. So I've got so many different variants and understandings just from that one color. We haven't even gone down the different tones of orange. We haven't gone all the way to red or all the way to yellow. There's just such a magnitude of differentiators and little points of connection that we can make within that one color or that one range of color, because everything is unique to the individual. So our job as sensitives, or certainly from my point of view, is just to hold space so you or whoever I'm working with can access that right orange for them. They can access that thing. Oh, well, how does that feel for me? Because that's really what we're doing, isn't it? And with the mediumship especially, we're linking in as mediums, but we're wanting to convey the feeling of your loved ones from the
Mhm.
spirit. If I'm doing a drawing, an aurograph, well, I'm wanting you to have the experience of the drawing. That's the work. That's the work, because it's about what comes up within your system. Because as we say, we're talking about healing, and healing for the conscious mind with communication is about grief. It's about forgiveness. It's about letting go. It's about continuation of life. But healing within the auric field or the aurograph, and we'll go into, I think, the history in the UK. I can tell you a little bit about that. But that's about that feeling of healing that is required from the body. So what's coming up within your system, the somatic healing, if you like,
Mm.
that kind of understanding of, oh, well, what's going on with my energy field? Well, where's that alignment piece? How do I feel connected to Mother Earth? How am I connected to my emotional self? Where's my mind within all of this? And where's my spirit? Where's that soul connection with myself? And through art and through creativity, it's such a beautiful way that we can show on paper your conscious mind to go, well, actually, that's you there. Well, that's you there. And this is a part of you. And this is a part of you. And your conscious mind goes, oh, well, actually, I can feel that. So we're creating or recreating or reconnecting that link between the physicality of us within this space, the emotionality, that mentality, the conscious mind that thinks it's in control, but really probably isn't as much in control as it likes to think it is, and that spiritual self. So I think art is just such a wonderful way that we can illustrate that and update our conscious mind as well as the energy of the room or the group.
Mm. Beautifully stated. I think that understanding that there's a higher purpose to why you're doing the art to help that person access an aspect of truth
Mhm.
about themselves, so they can either go deeper into the understanding of the experience, perhaps heal in those ways, feel the victory of those moments, and see that they are ultimately guided by the divine in all that they do. And so just so people have a sense of an aurograph, it's usually done on paper, right? Sometimes it could be done on canvas, but explain to our viewers today, what does an aurograph look like, and what's its purpose?
So, yeah, I can give you a bit of background. So it was developed, the term, as far as I understand, was coined by a gentleman called Harold Sharp. And he was a gentleman in the UK who couldn't draw. had no interest in art or creativity, but when he went into used his trance mediumship, so he's moving his conscious mind aside, his spirit guides coming forward and drawing on the paper. He created these beautiful drawings, so these beautiful images. A lot of them were in the circle, and then had different symbols and different things within these circles. Some of the ones that he did for people were almost in like columns. So it was almost like the comic strip that took you through the journey of where you were and your potential on that psychic level. So that potential within your auric field, within yourself, within this physicality. But the aurograph itself was a generic drawing inspired from the spirit world that then could be read for the individual. So it's like the oracle cards is the example that I use. Most people have pulled a tarot or oracle card or something like that. The cards are very generic, yet when you pick one, it is so unique and so perfect for where you are in that space at that time. And that's the beauty of it, and that's the simplicity of it. So the aurograph, in that sense, the ones that came through that Harold Sharp developed with his spirit guide were used in that sense. They are used as a tool to enable somebody to give you a reading, for somebody to take you on that journey and give you a visual reference to that journey. I'm linking in with this color of orange, and oh, this orange to me means that for me. It means that for you. This is where we're going. Oh, this symbol means that. And we look at symbology. I mean, all the way through human history, there's been symbology with different meanings, different ways of looking at it, different interpretations. And that's the important thing with autographs and with oracle cards, the tarot. It's only relevant in the moment that you're reading it. If I was to read the same card for you again tomorrow, it would be different. If I was to read the same card for somebody else in half an hour's time, it would be completely different. So that's the state where it becomes a tool. What we've got, and when Harold Sharp, or when we do autographs for somebody, if you do it before the session or you do with somebody in mind, you're linking in on that psychic level. Mediumship can come into it as well, of course, but primarily you're doing the psychic link. You're drawing something that is a potential within the auric field of that person, or within the energy of the unseen of that individual, connecting with their soul, their spirit, their emotions, their physicality, their mentality, their conscious capacity. And all of that combined is a very simplistic way for me to talk about it, but gives you a drawing that can take somebody on a journey of experience. The beauty that we've got to do it live with somebody is that I can draw the journey live as it evolves on the paper. So we start with a blank sheet of paper, like any good conversation, like any wonderful podcast that we're invited onto. It's wonderful in that sense that you start with literally a blank sheet of paper and you fill it with conversation. You fill it with connecting with my energy, your energy, the energy of the unseen, and we go on a journey together. So autographs for me now, the way that they've evolved is I do them live with people and I explain as I'm drawing. And it's not for everybody, and not everybody it does it in the same way. Everybody's unique. And I think that's how it should be. But you've got to do as it works for you. But for me, it's no longer always in a circle. Sometimes it goes into nature. Sometimes it goes into abstract. Sometimes it goes into any different ism of art you can think of. Because what is art? It's inspired creativity that pours through the individual onto the paper or canvas. And that's what we're doing, but we're telling a story of the energy of this space. What I'd always say within that is I could not create the drawings alone. It's not my drawing. It's not my inspiration. It's not me. It's only ever created by my energy holding space, the energy of whoever I'm working with, and the energy of the unseen world. So that every drawing is just as much as a surprise to me as it is to whoever I'm working with. And I do feel that it's an aura graph. So it's looking at the energy of the unseen of the individual, because we all know the other parts, the five senses. You can do that. You choose what you wear every morning. You choose what you have for dinner. You're using color. You're using flavor. You're using taste. You're doing that within the seen world. The aurograph and the art and the creativity is something that we can bring with the authenticity of the practitioner from the unseen world into the seen world. And that to me is the difference within that.
I think that's a beautiful distinction that people can understand that an orograph is only a subcategory of inspired art because there are different ways that inspired art can happen, as you were mentioning, and that the orograph is part of that inspired art category and bringing, as you say, the unseen world into the seen. It can be so beautiful for an individual to see that they're being recognized, that an aspect of their life, maybe it was a struggle, maybe it was a joy, it shows up. So when Richard, when you're talking about the symbols that can emerge for an individual through an inspired uh, artist like you are, or a person who specializes in auragraphs, can you give people examples of symbols that come through during that time?
Yeah, sure. Well, the one that comes through in a nice way and quite a lot is the symbol of nature. So I get a tree. And the tree, you've got the roots that go down that means something around the past. You've got the trunk that is the stability of the present. And then you've got the leaves and the branches as they divide and go through the journey of life. So, and then the colors of the leaves. Yeah, they can be all the colors of the rainbow can come on these lovely leaves, and the different ways that the trunks can evolve, the different faces that you can see within that. So even just the one tree, well, look in nature, how many different varieties of tree have we got? How many different variations of the color green have we got? How many different colors of the seasons have we got? If you go from spring from to summer to fall to winter, it's just ever changing. So a lot of the things the drawing will evolve over time. So if we're doing something and we're talking to somebody about that space, you're going, well, actually, as I draw this tree, this is the beginnings. This is the I'm building the branches out. It's almost like the tree is growing. Oh, I've got, well, you must have liked these different things as I've got the budding and the things, and the roots are getting deeper. The things are coming forward for you. And then, oh, we're into summer. Now I've got the colors of yellow coming in the leaves. I've got the oranges. I've got the browns coming in. Oh, we've got things that you're shedding. Oh, we've got things. So you can take them through a journey as the tree grows.
Mm.
Birds are a big thing. Water's a big thing. All of these different things. Or if we're talking about mediumship, well, what's significant? We've had lots of examples of, well, the brooch was passed down, or the candlesticks, or there's a painting of someone, and you can just draw that in. You know, it's something that is evidence there of communication. But with the aurograph, we're talking about, well, what does this mean? Well, if I do two birds, well, what's that? How does that unfold? If I do somebody fishing, well, what does that mean? Is that a literal? Is that something, oh, you've been fishing for a new direction, you've been looking at the past, you need some alone time. What does that mean for you? So symbols can come in any form, any shape. I personally, because I have such an affinity with nature, that I get a lot of flowers, a lot of different things that relate to seasons, relate to times of life, relate to the petals on the flower, or what time, or the bees are coming in, or whatever's coming in within that space. And we can start to use that. Then there's symbols within people and how they work, how they live, the house and the church. Were they religious? There's things where you don't have to say anymore, and that's another really beautiful thing within art. So in England, if we say, well, there's Remembrance Day, we have the poppies for the fallen heroes, and sometimes that is so emotional that you can just draw the poppy. The person knows what we're talking about. They know that space. They know that feeling. They can go on their own journey just with the symbol and the color of the poppy. Me saying anything on top of that is not helping. It's not adding to that experience. It's me bringing something else in. Very simply, you can draw something, and the beautiful thing is after the reading, after the session, they've got that. They can go on their own journey. They can go back into it again and go, I can reconnect to that feeling I had within that reading and that feeling of red, that feeling of that poppy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a lovely thing because they don't have to remember what you say. They can just tap into that feeling of peace, that feeling of contentment, that feeling of alignment. We do a lot of work where the aurograph is coming back and bringing people back into themselves. Because in life, we're very scattered, aren't we? Mentally, we're over there. Emotionally, we're over there. Physically, we're running after ourselves. Where are we? So half of this work is bringing people back into alignment of themselves to go, well, actually, just reconnect with yourself for a little bit. See how that feels. What's the difference? What's coming up within your system? And art is just such a wonderful way that we can go, oh, yeah, actually, I feel that and I can see it.
I think that's a really important thing. I'm glad that you're cementing that for everyone to understand that there are limits as to what the artist who is doing the aurograph should do. The artist is there to convey the color and put it onto the page
Mhm.
and to put those symbols there and to be careful about offering their own interpretation. There are subtleties and nuances here, as you started at the very beginning saying orange to me, orange to you, or the different orange, what does that mean? And so it does behoove the person who is the recipient of the aurograph to know that they're going to be part of this particular journey
Mhm.
and that they have to bring their own ability and interpretation and desire for understanding to this occasion as well. So there's a joint effort rather than just saying, and here's your piece of art. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way, right? There has to be an understanding on the part of the recipient that they have work to do.
Yes, yeah, and it's really important that you say that, Willa, 100%, because it's a journey that we can only go on together. It's the same as a conversation. If I have a conversation with myself, it's no conversation. It's only coming together. If I want to paint in the studio and just paint, that's me linking in and getting inspiration. I'm going to paint this, whether that's from the spirit world, from Mother Earth, from wherever, from my own spirit, from my own inspired mind, consciousness, whatever that may be. That's me getting that point of inspiration, going, right, I'm taking that and going on this journey myself alone to create this piece of art. But there is one starting point of inspiration. What we're doing when we're talking about inspired art is we're talking about something that ebbs and flows and goes through that journey of creation with somebody else involved and the energy of the unseen. It's not me taking that and going off on my own journey because then that becomes my personal philosophy. It is not something that is organic and authentic through the journey that we can go on together. And there's a big difference there because that's how, so when I look at different philosophies or you look at different artists, you can see, there's a spark of an idea there. And what they've done is they've used their skill as an artist to execute that one idea.
Mhm.
It is not a piece that generally goes on the journey and evolves with multiple people. But when you've got that, and if you work with people as a group, as I know you work with groups, you work with individuals, you can go so much further in the group energy than you can alone because you're getting the feedback and it's not you. It's not me isolating myself to create from one idea. It's me organically working within the energy and the spontaneity and the authenticity of the moment to create that journey and that evolution and update of our conscious mind from the feeling and emotion and energy of the unseen. It's a big difference.
Big difference. And I do try to explain to people that they're very much part of a process in a reading or in a message event, that when they're watching other people receiving a reading, that it's their opportunity to be cheering for them and wanting the best and adding and lending their energy and support to the process as well. But when a person is receiving a message or a reading, they're very much responsible for bringing their uplifted energy to this. And to what extent would you say that affects the artist in the situation of the creation of an aurograph? To what extent are they reading the energy around an individual in a almost a psychometry kind of way that then comes onto the paper, versus feeling an inspiration externally, maybe from a guide or a loved one, that is conveying that information that is inspiring the artist to make this? Can we make that distinction for our viewers today?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So it's nice to have a starting point. So when I sit down with a blank piece of paper and somebody, I say, well, are you looking for a portrait of a loved one? Are you looking for a portrait of a spirit guide? Are you looking for an aurograph? What are you looking for? Are you looking for an energetic alignment, attunement, a healing? What's the starting point? With the full intention within my mind and my that what's going to come forward is right for that moment and for that energy. So it's just nice to have that starting point, and that's really where I make that distinction. Is only at the very starting point. So I know, we're looking for a portrait. Okay, brilliant. Let's start with that. We're looking for an inspirer in the spirit world, because if someone's looking for a guide, well, what they've probably had communication with that in the energy of the unseen. So what they're feeling and that experience, whether that be coming through just through inspired things on things they're noticing, or whether it's audible, or whether it's just a feeling, however that comes through for them, what they're looking for is a face that their conscious mind can put to that feeling. And the colors and everything within that will mean, and it'll be specific to them, but that'll unfold in that way. If we're looking at an aurograph, well, what are we looking for? Where is my job within that? Well, it's the same within any communication. I don't give anything. It's not for me to give, because if I give my energy, they will feel my energy. And that's not what it's about. It's about me holding my space and using the skills that I've developed over the years, just learning to draw, learning to mix color, whatever that may be, connecting with the unseen, but to hold my space so they can have that experience. It's about them, and it's about them feeling something as we go on that journey. So the distinction is really me just stepping back and going, well, actually, I may feel this, and that's my attunement. So, we've got the guidance from the spirit. Well, I can show that in the color of orange. Let's use orange again. And I can show that in the color of yellow, because yellow for me, what does that mean? Oh, well, that means healing in this case. Your guide is bringing you some healing from the spirit world. He is using his healing abilities or her healing abilities through you. That's your guidance. And that's my interpretation of what it means within the energy of now. But it's the yellow is for you. What does that mean? The orange is for you. What does that mean? So my mind comes in with, this is what it means, but I know what it means for me. I am telling you what I feel it means for you. So I try to stand back and just hold space, because what happens a lot of the time, because people who come to see you, they're very sensitive. They're very caring, as we all are. And what do we do straight away? Oh, let me help, give you all my energy. And then you end up going, oh, actually, that's a lot of energy, and that's all. So I try to say, well, look, I don't give you anything. I just hold this space, and what you feel is coming up within your system If someone's looking for a guide, they're looking for their own energy, they're looking for an aurograph, or what they're looking for is to connect with the energy of themselves. They're looking
There
to
we go.
connect with the other aspects of them. If I'm drawing something that represents their emotional self, and we're doing a boat on the horizon that is something sailing off into a beautiful sunset, for example, well, that's something around their emotional self. Well, what color's the sail on the boat? Well, what color's the sunset? Well, what type of boat is it? And I want them to have that experience of what it means and feels like for them, because then they are more connected with their emotional self. If we're talking about the mental self and we're drawing rocks, or we're drawing trees, or we're drawing something from nature, well, that's something, well, actually, they're building something, they're creating something within the conscious mind, they're building a structure of how, but I want them to experience that. And so my job is really just to give the interpretation and say, well, actually, is this mediumistic? Is this healing? Is this philosophy? And that's my attunement within the spirit, but that's within my space. And I just hold space for them to experience it within theirs. And it goes back to, it's not me drawing. It's only something that can be created through my energy, your energy, and the energy of the unseen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just to go into that a little deeper, uh, while this is happening, you're conveying these verbal impressions of what is happening on the page, and you're checking in from time to time with the recipient to
Mm.
also get their understanding of what is coming onto the page and how they reflect and see themselves or their situation coming out in the art. And so there is some immediate feedback that's happening during the actual session. But
Mhm.
then the recipient is encouraged afterward to continue to use that piece of art almost like a meditation or guided exercise, that that visual imagery will start to help them resonate, to discover where they would like to go in their path or what they would like to do with this particular information or knowledge. So I do feel that there's a wisdom place that people can access, even after the session, because you have the visual representation, correct?
Yeah, 100% correct. Yeah. And that's the journey, isn't it? A picture paints 1,000 words.
There you
You
go.
know, and an exercise that I say to people, well, look at your favorite piece of art in your home and just see tomorrow morning when you walk down into your living room and you see your wonderful piece of art on the wall, what color comes forward? Oh, well, it's blue. Okay, lovely. Well, what does blue mean? Well, the next day, well, what comes forward? Oh, well, I've noticed the bird in the sky. Oh, right. Well, what does that mean? There's a journey that you can go on every day. But the key, I think, for the aurograph is, as you say, the journey continues, but it's remembering that feeling and that space where we can bring people a bit closer to every aspect or the totality of them. You can say, how do you feel? Ah, well, actually, I'm now more aware of my emotional self. I'm more aware of my conscious mind. I'm more aware of the totality of this moment and the presence of now. And that's really what the drawing can invoke the next day. Because a lot of people, as you have a wonderful reading, you feel absolutely fantastic. You go for a walk in nature. Oh, you've had a lovely, the next morning you wake up, right, I'm off to work and I'm doing this again. And it's you're back into that feeling of this is what life is and this is where I was, but I had a lovely day yesterday. So the art is such a lovely way where just by looking at that piece of creativity, that inspired art, you can just remember for a moment that feeling and that alignment where it's a little bit closer to your authentic self, and you can go, actually, I feel in that space today. I feel that alignment of myself, and the blue is coming out for me today. Ah, what does that mean? It means I'm going to have a great day. Blue for me is philosophy within this moment. I'm feeling inspired. I'm going to do some writing, and I get on with my day. And that's the point of that what art can do after the fact. As you say, it can be a meditation. It can be something that just for that split second can just bring you back to that feeling, what you experienced in that moment where all of these different aspects of you make themselves known within the creativity or the creation of that aurograph.
Yeah, so it serves as a positive anchoring technique or
Hmm.
a way of them getting back into who they truly are. Now, just to explain further for folks, when people say aurograph, they're thinking aura. Are you actually tuning in to what is in an individual's aura? And if so, a particular layer or layers would you say that you are tapping into?
Yes, yeah, and great question. Yeah, it's because aurograph. Well, look at the aura photography. You can get this beautiful photograph with all of these beautiful colors of your aura, your auric field. And when we say auric field, what are we talking about? We're talking about the energetic fields that surround you. You're not only inside your body. Your emotional self isn't just in this space. Your conscious mind is not just within this space. It extends beyond your physicality. So when we talk of auras, we talk about the layers of auras or that different feeling. There's many sayings that, oh, you wear your heart on your sleeve, you do this, or, you've got an inspired mind, you're off on the other side of the galaxy. All of these lovely things that just says, oh, well, actually, we're bigger than this physicality. So what's the job of the artist in that? And this is where color is so unique and so specific. Even if you're drawing something that comes from nature, you're drawing something that's a symbol, it doesn't have to be green leaves on the tree. It doesn't have to be blue water in the ocean. What we're saying is whatever color I'm inspired to pick up and use, it could be, well, actually, that's a color within your auric field. So if I'm talking about emotional turbulence maybe within your life, well, maybe actually what I'm using is the color of green, and I'm doing that, you've got this green water. And that's something, it's a visual representation of that color within your auric field. So color can be, and the same within portraits. What color is the skin tones? Well, if we look within the skin tones, there's greens, there's blues, there's all different colors within the skin tones. There's all different colors that people can wear and all of these things. So whatever you're drawing, it's about the color within it. So I would suggest certainly how it works for me is I'm aware of that energy of the unseen. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, my attunement over the time has said, well, I know I can link in with the mediumistic. I know I can link in with the philosopher. I know I can link in with the psychic. I know I can do all of these. So when I'm in that space and, what comes forward for me? Oh, well, I'm just feeling, well, there's healing around your shoulders. Well, I feel this beautiful yellow around your shoulders. Oh, lovely. Well, that may represent itself as a sunset or something on the horizon, or it may just be an abstract and it may be a corner of the drawing that I just say, well, this is a lovely yellow for you. And this is the underpinning vibration of you is healing, this beautiful space in which you find yourself, or this is what's coming forward for you. And colors have certain meanings, and there are certain meanings for colors. Depends who you are, what you do. But I would always suggest you make your own colors because it's about understanding what it means for you.
Yes.
There are set ones, but it just gives you the same as there's the set colors for the chakras. But if you look down all of that, well, there's more chakras, there's more colors, there's more of everything. So you can look down whatever route you want to get that information. But what are we actually doing there? We're working through somebody else's philosophy, somebody else's way of working to find our own and what resonates with us. So we've got that differentiator of what's me and what isn't me. And once we've got that, well, actually, I'm linking in with you. And then let's talk about the field around you. And we do exercises within that where we draw the person and we just say, well, what colors have I got here? What colors have I got here? What colors have I got here? And you can it just gives your mind a visual to kind of say, well, actually, if I'm feeling something around your shoulders or that color there, well, what does that mean? If I'm feeling something around your solar plexus, what does that mean? If I've got something around your head, what does that mean? And it gives you a point of reference where you can then, as the practitioner, say, wow, well, actually, I know that means this for me, and this is what I feel it means for you. So it gives you a point of reference. But again, a lot of the stuff when I'm talking, I'm drawing, and when I'm drawing, I'm talking. So the trick to that and the beautiful thing about that is I don't think too much. I just talk. And I just, from that space, you'll know with the mediumship, you're just talking. You're not thinking about anything other than I'm just holding this space and I'm saying what comes out of my mouth because I know I'm connected in my space, your space, and this space. So there's so much that's said within the art, and there's so many things that I'm scribbling and drawing on and then suddenly my conscious mind will go, oh, actually, that looks like a bird. Oh, well, actually, that looks like something else. Oh, well, that looks like this. And that gives you another direction in for that. So it works in, and I think what we do as practitioners is we build up this repertoire of just, oh, actually, I can just go into that mode. I can go into that mode. So the way that we have is the starting point. So I go back to that. You've got a starting point. What do you want from this time together? What do you want from this session? Let's start with that. And then the spirit and the inspired and the energy of the unseen, your energy, will bring forward, hopefully, what is needed.
Mhm. In that particular, it's like a little snapshot, only it's art that's done in that particular way.
Yeah.
And in accessing those layers of the aura, it seems to me that in part people would be connecting with the mental aura, but especially the emotional aura, because you know you get a lot of symbols and get a lot of direct information from that particular aura level. But I think depending on the intention of what the uh, recipient is wanting to have for it, I think getting into that etheric template of who they really are, the place of absolute healed and wholeness, and
Mhm.
having that reflected back to an individual, to know that that is their mirror of who they really are, and having that come out can be very powerful for them, and utilizing the color and the symbols to do so, because these things transcend spoken word, as you said before. It's not something that you necessarily need words, but we try to find that in our framework, and we're using those symbols, like you said, all of a sudden there's a bird, all of a sudden there's these things that your mind, like the human computer mind, says, I recognize what that could be. It's like finding something in the clouds and recognizing the shape of what it is, and realizing that it's a message for you, that on a
Yes.
deeper level that will assist. So an aurograph is like the clouds, only with more color coming coming into play for a little while. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to have you lean also into that understanding of when you're in the aurograph in this inspired art space. It's not necessarily what we consider automatic, but this would be inspirational, because can you just tell people the difference of how
Mm.
you know that it's not automatic and then it's inspirational?
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's and an important point to make is the aurograph and the way that I'm explaining is how it works for me.
Mm-hmm.
The starting point and the thing was where Harold Sharp coined the phrase. So the journey has been, well, everybody's got their own interpretation. So the way that I'm evolving it and to do it live is the way that it evolved for me. How does it work, inspirational or automatic? So you're talking about perception and controlled kind
Yes.
of mediumistic faculty. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. So if I'm thinking or I'm speaking, my focus is here. I'm not thinking or speaking about what my hand is doing, and I trust that the spirit is moving because I'm in that space. So
Mm-hmm.
in that sense, there is a controlled aspect to it if I'm doing something in that mode. Inspired, certainly, that I would suggest that the whole session is inspired within that space because it's not coming from the memory banks of my conscious mind. It's not coming from me thinking back to some rich tapestry that happened in my past or some knowledge that I've accumulated over the time. It's coming out now. and it's coming in the energy of now. So I would suggest that everything within that session or that time, the same as it is within this conversation, is something that is just coming up in the moment of now. So I would say, yes, there are elements within that that are controlled because I'm going bringing my conscious mind back in to go, oh, actually, oh, that looks like that. I didn't purposefully draw that. And sometimes I do feel that the drawing just comes on the paper. If I'm doing more portraits and not going different direction to the auragraphs, well, the portraits come forward and I'm just really picking out the details to go, oh, well, actually, this is the type of eyes they had, this is the nose, this is the mouth. And that's where the artistic skill set comes in to say, well, actually, this is the basic structure of a face. But the idea and the way that it's come forward has been definitely inspired by the spirit. Um, Me personally, I don't practice automatic drawing, but I feel that there are elements in it within my sessions or within the work that I do because I am not fully aware of what my hand is doing all the time. Whichever hand I'm drawing, sometimes I draw with the right, sometimes with the left. I am dominant left hand. Um, but yeah, it does. Some things come out and you go, oh, actually, and you can see the difference
Oh
after
yeah.
the portrait is finished. Some of them, or the drawing or the aurograph, they're not my style of drawing at all, and it's not my way. And I thought many years ago, well, why have I done abstracts, landscapes, portraits, all of these different isms? Why have I not just found a theme and stuck with that, and that's the type of artist I am? Well, it's evident now that I bring forward in an ism that is relevant to, oh well, it's cubism, it's surrealism, and there's just elements within it, but you can tell, or I can certainly tell, it is not my art. It is not something that if I'm just getting that moment of inspiration and I go in my head and I go, right, this is what I'm creating, it's not that. It's something that is using my skill set loosely to understand proportions, to understand the mixing of color, the blending. Well, actually, I need to keep it on the paper. That always helps. So these little things that come forward, but it's very much, oh, this has just happened, or that's just happened, and it's not me doing it. So yes, I would say I kind of flick between the two, and a nice way to practice that is to distract the conscious mind with someone and just move your hand. As the same with automatic writing, as you touched on, but it's um I I have done things where I have not looked at all, and I've done things that I've played around with it a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's not something that I practice, but I do feel there are elements that come through when I'm working.
Right. It's weaving in and out because you're not in a full trance or anything like that, that to make this happen. But
Mm.
there's a touch in with that so that you can feel the inspiration of spirit
Mm.
assisting you in the process and you rising to the occasion to say, yes, I'm open, I'm willing, I'm ready to interpret symbols, color, let's go, folks.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that way if you get too much into one of the isms, as you say, then it's limiting
Mm.
because people have different personalities and they'll have various things reflected that will need to come out in a different capacity. So it's good that you're able to shift between those so that it can convey more accurately for the individual.
I think that's right. Yeah, 100%. It's something around you. Our job is to be of service, isn't it? That's ultimately what we're talking about. Is I try and as everybody does, and I know as you do, that you put yourself in a space where you can best be of service within the space that you're working.
Mhm.
How do I do that? Well, I've learned a skill set and a set of tools which is I can draw, I can do this, I can do that. I know how to put an easel up and I know how to mix color. then I am just trying to be of service. So I'm just trying to bring forward what the person in front of me or the group or the people, whatever that may be, what they need. That's my job. And how does the spirit or the energy of the unseen do that? Well, it uses the skill set that I've honed over the years. That's the difference, isn't it? Is the toolkit that I've built and created with understanding of color, use of symbols, all of that stuff, understanding of art, understanding of different isms of art, understanding of inspired art, what is art. But a lot of artists practice similar things over the years when you start to look into it. But then they've got this skill set where they've gone, well, actually, if I do automatic drawing or automaticism, which is what they did, a lot of the surrealists use that, sort of Miro, Picasso, all of that era, they used that kind of stuff and that kind of work. And I know Dali was a great believer in all of that as well, that it was just bringing forward, well, what is that? Ah, okay. Now let's see what comes forward. And it's really interesting that they use some of these different techniques. And what is that technique? Well, really, it's just being spontaneous and
Yeah.
authentic within the moment without the conscious mind bringing any judgment on what you're creating. Because as soon as anybody tries to paint or draw anything, first thing we do is we go, that's rubbish, and I throw it out. It's not good enough. It's not because
Oh,
somebody's
the critique. Oh,
yeah, yeah. Well, that it's exactly it, isn't it? We're our own worst critics, aren't we? And where this is the beauty of art, that I try and put myself in a space where, let's go back to that be of service piece. I am not drawing that for me. It's not my art. I'm drawing it for somebody within the space of now, within the energy of this moment. It's not coming forward with the precision and the limitations of my conscious mind. It's coming forward in the energy that's created within this space, in the energy of now. And I think that's really important, because then it frees that judgmental self of going, and we get it with mediumship. I wish I'd said that. Why did I say it? I should have said this. I knew that and I didn't say it. We get all of that. But what you're saying or what you're drawing or what you're creating is not for you. Because if it was for
right.
you, you wouldn't be a being of service. You're of service to somebody else. So get yourself out of the way so you can be creative, you can be spontaneous, you can be authentic, and you can be within the energy for the highest good of the person you're working with.
Yes, it's a powerful, spiritual, spontaneous involvement that you're having during the creation of the orograph or the inspired art.
Mhm.
And then you have to detach because it's not for you. You send it off with them and, enjoy, bon appetit, and know
Exactly.
that you have to let that go and that you've done your best to be of service. And just to give people a little bit understanding of the nuts and bolts of this, yes, it has such a spiritual inspired component to it. How long does a typical orograph take?
So if I'm doing sessions, and I would do it in half an hour. I can do an hour session as well. So, but half an hour seems to work quite nicely. I can draw quite quickly. If people want something detailed or they want something that goes a bit further, I can spend more time in it. But all that's going to do is sharpen up the figures within it, sharpen up the leaves on the trees, make everything a little bit more artistic through the lens of my conscious mind,
Make it
using
pop. Hmm.
yeah. Put the shadow in the right place. Put the darker tones here, the richer tones there.
Yeah.
Do the artist tricks,
It's
really.
more arty then.
It's the tricks of creating a good painting. So I can introduce those. But for me, sometimes that takes away from the spontaneous brushstrokes or the pastel. I do autographs in pastels because the color's direct, very quick. But if people want it and they want something more detailed, they want something a little bit deeper in that sense, I can bring in the artistic self. But that to me is not created within the energy of the moment. That's me taking that raw, authentic, energetic
And polishing
experience
it. Yeah.
and polishing it further down the line, which is great as well. So you can turn it into, and I've done it with spirit guides and things like that, that people can say,
Put
well,
on their
actually,
wall.
yeah, you've got something that looks, oh well, I know where the cheeks are, I know the bone structure, I know the symbols around it. Well,
Right.
will you go and do a painting from that? Yeah, sure. So here's a polished version of that. So it is possible, but I find that either a half an hour session or an hour session is great because we're working in that energy. It's like a reading. It's that kind of time frame.
And so, would in your capacity as a professional artist, it makes it more readily accessible for you to get into this kind of thing. Would you say that someone who would not have considered themselves to be artistically inclined be able to do that kind of level of work?
Yeah,
Maybe
to a
not the
level.
polish, the Apple one, but the other.
Yeah, but you can certainly work with color. Of course, you don't need any artistic ability other than the open mind to go, well, actually, if I pick this color up and I put it on this piece of paper, I can interpret what that means. What are you feeling? Yeah, 100%. If you want to start drawing things and symbols, well, it's a good idea to practice that. Certainly, if you want to draw faces, it's the most difficult thing. And people can copy, sure, that's a different form, that's a different skill.
Yeah,
But
spirit
you can
doodles
have a,
versus spirit art.
yeah,
Very different.
exactly that. Exactly that. But play with color because everyone has a knowledge of color. Everyone has a working knowledge of color. And so why not put it on and use it as pastel or use it as watercolor, as oils, as acrylics, as gouache, as whatever you want. You can use all of these different mediums to go and play and be creative and just throw color on paper or on canvas and see what comes up. We do the encaustic wax, which is so much fun that you can just melt wax on a card and with the iron and things like that are so direct and so much fun. Getting something from nature and just outlining it, tracing around it, or doing the rubbings from it is a brilliant way to start to introduce art and creativity. Because what are we doing? We're giving somebody the conscious mind, we're giving it that visual reference. So you don't need to be an artist to use color, to use art, to use creativity. In fact, you shouldn't be to start off with. I think it's far better to be more organic and be more playful. When you know that the spirit is coming in, people are very surprised of what they've done and what they've achieved. They think, it's amazing. I can't draw yet. Look at this. It's beautiful. Yes, because we're working within the energy of this space and you're doing it for somebody else. So yeah, go for it.
I think that's beautiful. I think people need to understand that they shouldn't be limiting themselves in terms of their perceived abilities. That even if that's not been their particular niche before, that as long as they're entering with that purity of intention and that playfulness to just see what happens, to be willing to experiment with that is really important so that they may be very pleasantly surprised by what emerges that could be quite significant if they're doing this for someone in that generous capacity, as you say. That it's that law of loving service that does assist us in our intuitive and our mediumship and our healing work that is ever present. And I know our time's coming to an end soon. Are there any last thoughts that you'd like to share with our viewers today about auragraphs or inspired art that you think would that you feel would be really important for them to have as a takeaway?
Yeah, and I think that there's lovely exercises that they can do for themselves. And if you want to use art and creativity in your own way, well, choose yourself a color, choose 3 or 4 colors, and just draw on a piece of paper and feel the experience of doing that. because it's very different to visually to experience it within this reality. If you think something, it's very different than saying something. If you visually experience something, it's very different. It's the feeling of you. And the underpinning vibration of all art is the same as all mediumship. It's healing. So I would certainly encourage people to go and look at some inspired art. There's many inspired artists that have been in the spiritual realm and the spiritual world, but just any great art. And just when you're in that space, look at a painting and just go, oh, what do I feel? And it's visceral. There's an experience to be had within all art and within all color. The last thing I'd say is every time we walk in nature, I mean, that is Mother Earth, Mother Nature is the greatest artist, and it's the greatest inspiration. So it feels like we're coming back into that space where it's just all about nature. It's about healing, and it's just about understanding what it means for you. Pick up the pastels and just be creative and have that experience for yourself, because you can then share that with other people. It becomes part of your spiritual toolbox.
So just go ahead and get started is the big advice. So, even if it's just some colored pencils or markers, just crayons, just start with whatever you might have. That you don't have to feel like there's a big investment if you're like, I don't know how to pick out a pastel kit. Start with some of the other basic things so that you can then maybe launch into the others, and take a class or two to help you to really access that place of seeing, because there's an inner vision that starts to amplify in people. I would refer people back to some of the past shows I've done with my mother about inner vision. We did some months ago a wonderful podcast show about Cézanne's last painting. So, I grew up in that understanding of looking at art and seeing something else. There may be hidden messages that even the artist wasn't aware of. So maybe start studying those things. As Richard mentioned, there are so many pieces of art out there for you to start to re-envision, and not just to look at what would be the typical surface things, but look beyond that, see what to others may be unseen. So those are some real practical ways that you can practice this. And where can they find you, Richard, if they want to learn more from you?
Yeah, sure, thank you. My website, richardstuttle.com, or Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I've got profiles on all three platforms. So yeah, have a look. There's plenty of blog posts, plenty of bits going on, many workshops and all that kind of thing. So Google
Yes.
me.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Richard's been teaching these things for years. So if you want to learn more specifically about autographs or inspired art or psychic art or even mediumship spirit art, he offers those kinds of classes, and even online, but many of them in person. And so who knows, he may be coming to a place near you. So, well, we really appreciate you coming on the show today, Richard. And it's always great to connect and have a lovely conversation. And I encourage people to tune in next week for another great episode of Wednesdays with Willa. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.